Hello, welcome back to the ministry. I got a special word that the Lord gave me last night when I was just sitting and I just finished my dinner and I was listening to some music, and I'm gonna talk about the music in the next video because I need to do a semi snippet, which is going to be a two-parter for that, because God has been showing me this one particular song. Why, I don't know, but I'm going to go into that a little bit, and prayerfully we'll work it out together. But I'm going to go into that in the next video. But after I finished working on that, he gave me this. I was listening to some music and something stood out to me. When I was listening to this particular song, it made me think of a grounding rod. A grounding rod is actually a rod that it conducts lightning, but it will be grounded by its point of contact to the ground. I may be explaining this wrong, but this is the way God showed it to me. You are your God ordained spouse's grounding rod. You are what grounds them. So, what actually drew my attention to this is when I thought grounding rod, there was a movie called Sweet Home Alabama that I only ever saw this movie one time. I've seen it pop up several times since the one time I watched the whole film. And in it, this guy, he lived by the beach. He was an artist, how you might say. And what he did was he would take poles. They were rods that conducted lightning, and he would stick them into the sand in specific places the night before major storms. Okay? Follow me. And I'm going to do a breakdown on this because I'm feeling it in my spirit to break that down. That he would stick the rods into the ground, and when a major storm would come, the lightning would hit the top part of the rod, and where he grounded, meaning where he stuck the rod into the ground, the sand would literally create a holding vessel container that when the storm was over, he would take the rod out of the ground and pull the glass sculpture out of it. There's a whole word here that I didn't even see when I was initially getting this word. But I'm going to come back to that in about 5 seconds because I want to talk about grounding. When we think grounding, a person who is in a thunderstorm, okay? They always say that if you are ever outside in a thunderstorm and it is lightning and thunder, that you should always try to have on a pair of rubber bottom shoes. Why? Because the rubber in the bottom of the shoe grounds you. Okay? So if lightning were to strike, God forbid, you would not get killed. 2, they also say that if you're in a storm like that, there's a reason why they tell you to get into a car with rubber wheels. Grounding. Okay. Now, with that being said, going back to the grounding rod from the Sweet Home Alabama. A lot of us have walked through many a storm, okay? And because the Lord has trained us up in how to operate in the midst of a storm, okay, we have the ability to be a grounding position for our spouses. Now, what I wanted to come back to with this was we are the rods. The storms come in life, and they're going to come. They're going to come in relation to your marriage. They're going to come. You're going to have them because God allows you. The devil is only allowed to be away from you for one season, just one. Then he comes back. He may not be able to touch you the way he touched you before, because as we know, the scripture says that when the enemy sees his house swept clean, he has to go get others, meaning the same demonic entity that came after you the first time can no longer enter into your household. That demonic entity has no rights no more, but it can go get 5 to 7 other demons, much like itself, but worse. And if it can get you to allow them in the season after the season of peace the Lord allots you, he now has legal entry, meaning any of those spirits can have legal entry into your household. What am I saying? The Lord will allow a storm and lightning to strike. Meaning he will allow an attack to hit your family. He will allow certain things to hit. He'll allow it. Ergo, do we not remember Job? Do we not remember Job? It was God that gave the devil permission. You can touch everything but his life. God allowed Job to suffer the testing that he put him through. And he will allow your enemies to test you. Because he wants to see, 1, how you will handle the test. 2, to reflect in you the parts of you that need to be fixed. It happens every season because as long as you are growing, you're going to be needing to be tested to make sure that you are continuing to grow. Otherwise, you will become stagnant. We've always heard the saying, familiarity breeds contempt. Familiarity breeds comfortability. And you will stop moving forward and growing if you're in familiarity for too long. So, uncomfortability breeds growth. Why am I saying this? Because of the fact that when tests come into you and your spouse's life, you are the grounding for that pole. Your spouse is the pole. When the lightning strikes, you will keep them centered. And when the storm is over, you will see the beauty, that glass bowl, the glass container, the beautiful piece of artwork that was made by the sand that swirled around the bottom of that grounding rod to create the beautiful vases that that man was selling, was evidence of the beauty after the storm. You and your husband will go through trials. You and your husband will go through tests. But in you going through these trials and these tests in life, you will ground them and they will ground you. Lightning will strike. There will be things that will hit them. There will be things that will hit you. But when those seasons come, they will be what is needed to ground you, and you will be what is needed to ground them. Where did this all come from? It started, I was listening to Carl Thomas's She Is, and the first verse, LL Cool J starts to sing. And when he's singing, I started to think about him and his marriage to his wife. They've been married about 29 years. Have you ever, the entirety of his career, heard about him having any relational scandals? No. I remember when he sat with Oprah, they'd been married at that point maybe about 20 years, almost 19, 20 years at that time, when he sat down with, at least they'd been together, with Oprah. But they had been together for a long time at the point in time. I don't remember the exact, it may have been only 15, but they'd been together a longevity of time. But, and people wonder what it was that kept their marriage solid. Number one, faith. It would not surprise me that this woman was praying for this man the entire time throughout his entire career. Period. You go back and you see photos, because I remember when that episode came on, where he was talking about, and I'll probably, next time I get a chance to be on the internet, I'm going to look that interview up, because I want to see, for those of us that are waiting on kingdom marriage, you could probably learn something. They've been through some stuff. And they've been through stuff since that interview. Because I was doing some research, because I did a podcast where I talked about him and his wife. And I went back to see how they were doing. I found out later that she had ended up getting, having some sort of cancer. And of course she survived and they're doing good now. But I'm like, they've been through some stuff. And this man has never walked away from his wife. God is bringing these men into your life, and they're going to be loyal to you. I hear a lot of people, including Dana Ray. She did a beautiful video. I think it's called, it's going to be a perfect love or something like that, because it's to God's perfection. Why would God ever send somebody into your life that was going to do what the previous person did? These people that God are preparing to send into the lives of his children are people that are going to be loyal to them, loving to them, caring to them. They are going to stand by you, just like you have. And for what you've done, I'm talking to my ladies that have been known who your God ordained spouse is, and you pray like a warrior for this man in the spirit. You have been a level of technical support to this man that he didn't know he needed. And I more than believe, I would put on everything, that when this man shows up in your life, that he is going to be more than grateful for what you have prayed over him and over his life, family, what have you, because he saw the change long before you came into the picture. And the Lord, I guarantee you, told him, the reason that you're seeing this change is because that woman's praying for you. The reason that the demons that have been chasing you for years have backed off is because that woman's killing them in the spirit. So I wanted to talk about that because when a man finds a woman that grounds him, they ain't gonna cheat on you. If you are staying in your position, and I have to talk about this, Lord, show me how I need to really just hit this home. We've seen people pass away in the past several months. Oh, look at them. They had a wonderful life. They were married and everything was good. Oh my God, why is he? I'm going to say it. And some people may not like me saying this. But a woman that is grounded in prayer, she know long before a man is going to commit suicide. And she done nipped that sucker in the bud in the spirit realm first, because it's in the spirit before it comes into the natural. Go back and read the book of Daniel, when Daniel went on that 21-day fast, and he was and the angel that was meant to come to him resisted him because of the prince of Persia. The reason that your enemies hate you, the reason that you go through so much warfare over your God-ordained relationship is because the enemy sees that you are praying for this man. They be constantly trying to send witchcraft and stuff towards y'all, because they know as soon as the two of you get together, you will be able to ground that man in a way that nobody will be able to understand. And you will be dangerous together, because he will ground you and you will ground him. Okay? So the song that I was talking about at the beginning of this video was Justin Timberlake's Breeze Off the Pond. There's a verse in the song where he says, "You and I against the world. You and I against the world and everything that comes with it. No denying what you're worth. I would be foolish beyond words to lose you." What would I look like trying to live my life by trying to keep some other situation low. And I'm going to leave it at that because of the fact that these men, when they come into alignment with the fullness of the understanding of what it is God is doing in y'all's relationship, they know ain't nothing like this person, they're home for me. I will be loyal. I'll be trustworthy. I'll be what have you. Because this, I'm not playing with this. I don't know who it was. They did a video recently when I got a chance to finally catch up on some of the videos. They were talking about the fact that these men, they're going to know. I don't know whether it was Keys to the Kingdom or Dana Ray. They're going to know you're the central piece and the center to their piece. That's a whole word in itself. I may come back and do that. But they're going to know you're not worth risking messing any of this up. For what? To keep some side piece relationship on the low? That person couldn't do a damn thing? Sorry for my French, but it's the truth. That person can't do nothing on what you can do for them. Am I making sense? And it's not worth the risk of trying to deny how worthy we are to have a spouse that's willing to drop all that foolishness, because they know the value of having you next to them. They know it. There are no games in that. Period. You ground them. They don't know how to operate without that. If your grounding was to be removed, they would not know how to operate. And they ain't gonna mess with that. They would be foolish beyond words to mess with that. Am I making sense? Okay? When a real man finds a real woman, you know, because their grounding post to that other person. And they will not risk it for anything. Amen? It's not worth it. Not by any means. I believe a lot of us are going to be extremely shocked when our God-ordained spouses finally do show up, because we don't truly understand what we've done for these people. They're going to tell us. And that's what I meant to say. I was reminded that some of these men, the Lord showed you to them. And when the Lord showed them not only you and what you've done for them, but what you're going to do together and how they have to shape up themselves, they made the adjustment to say, that's what I want to do. I'm going to shape up for that person. I'm going to make a change for that person because I see. And this is what I think it was Dana Ray. Was it Dana Ray? I think it was. That was saying that these men know. They know the nights that you stayed up and prayed for them. They know the warfare that you went through because you decided to come up against their family's witchcraft. I can't tell you how many times I would be in prayer. One most recently, twice. I went into spiritual warfare prayer. I just was praying my normal, average prayer and was in the middle of praying. And I started praying for my God ordained spouse. I mean, I started going for roots in his family. And I'm like, where this come from, Lord? I'm talking, I was going in after lineage stuff. I was like, I wasn't even trying to pray this hard, Lord. What was this? What's this? To my prayer warriors out there that do that. Yeah, is that necessary? And to the ladies that are desiring kingdom marriage, I think this light is way too dark. Yeah. For my ladies out there desiring kingdom marriage, understand that's the way you got to be able to pray. You got to be able to be on call in the spirit for your God ordained spouse whenever in which they need it. Because if you don't know how to do it now, what you gonna do when they get here? What you gonna do when you're with them? Okay? What are you gonna do? Because when you are with them, there's going to be things going to be coming to try to separate you. And you got to be discerning enough to say, oh, that's something that's trying to come and separate us. And you got to see that thing from far off yonder. Let me tell you something about the way I pray. Take a lesson, write a note, do whatever you need to do with this. Because this is something I learned. I remember one time, somebody called me. I'm going to tell you exactly the way I dealt with this situation. This person called me randomly around about 11 o'clock at night. I ain't spoken to this person in about a year and a half. They said they want to call me. Hey, how you doing? What's up with you? I want to know what's up with you. Ain't heard from you in a while. Now, let me tell you something about the enemy. The enemy does nothing new. He ain't going to speak anything new. This is how you know a person is demonly possessed that is monitoring you for information. If you have a person contact you and they ask you the same exact thing, word for word, that somebody else asked you, I mean word for word, you know that person is operating in a monitoring spirit. Now, if you are wise enough to gather this piece of information, because this particular day that the person called me at 11 o'clock, my family member had been on the phone with somebody else earlier that day around about 6 and handed me the phone, and they said the exact same sentence, word for word. This is how I knew it was a spiritual thing and not an actual thing. When that person got off the phone, they said, oh, I got another phone call. I got to call you back. I'll call you back in a minute. When they hung up, I said, Jesus, if this person is doing nothing more than monitoring to try to get information from me, do not allow them to call me back. Guess what? That phone ain't ring for the rest of the night. And as soon as I said that, I got up and started pacing the floor and praying. I distinctly started to pray against communications, every form of communications that was not of God, every form of communications that was this, every form of communications that anyone trying to come to reach out from any source, I'm talking about friend, family, or anything, trying to gain access to monitor because of whatever reason. I prayed for an entire half an hour and then I sat down. When I tell you it, not only did nobody call me, they stopped calling anybody else that was around me. This is how you got to learn how to pray when you get into your marriage. And it's that kind of prayer that's going to protect your husband, because your husband is not thinking to pray that deep. You got to see an attack from way far off, even if it looks like friendly fire. You got to see it. Because once you see it, now, now, you can operate accordingly in relation to it. This is why. And this is also how you become a grounding rod for your God ordained spouse. You got to know how to pray. So, yeah, that was my word. These men are going to be very thankful to you. And I'm hearing a lot of people say that these men they coming. And I know, because I don't even have internet access, and there's certain things that my phone's giving me signals of. Meaning I'm literally seeing the way that my phone's adjusted certain things to my updates that are showing me, get ready, it's happening. So be ready, be prepared, because these men, they're awake and they're coming, and they need their grounding. They need it. And understand that after every storm, something beautiful is going to come out on the other end. This is Taj McCameron for Love, Faith, Peace, and Blessings Ministries. Until next time, bye-bye.